Hey listeners, at long last our Patreon page is up. We've taken your suggestions and put up a few different donation tiers from $1 to $10, and there are rewards associated with each, from thanks on the show to voting on upcoming matches, to getting to design matches and lightning rounds. We have various milestone rewards too, from creating a website to creating bonus content and bonus episodes. We hope you check out our Patreon page, if only because the five of us created a very dumb, very funny video that is kind of amazing. Thanks.
Hello and welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we pit fictional characters against one another in a battle of strength, or wits, or Australian post-apocalyptic transportation wars, and see who would win. This week, Lord Humungus versus Immortan Joe. The day is hot. We don't know what day it is, because we're in a dystopia now and time is pointless. There's sand everywhere. Radioactive kangaroos are lounging in what little shade there is, and things are generally quiet. Hardly a thrum of engines to be heard anywhere. Lord Humungus is feeling the pinch, and not just because his leather jockstrap is too tight. There's a guzzoline shortage, and his people are getting restless. Immortan Joe, elsewhere in the Outback, is also facing a lack of guzzoline, which means the war boys aren't particularly happy right now either. Both leaders throw some resources at the problem. Immortan Joe offers a little more water and some sick riffs from the doof. Lord Humungus, more bondage gear and hair dye. Results are mixed. Thankfully, a cloaked figure comes to each of them with word of a stockpile of guzzoline, refined, high-grade, delicious. Maps are drawn in the sand, followers are rallied, paint is applied to faces, arms, teeth, just whatever. Both parties head out into the open and make their way to this glorious liquid. As is inevitable in these situations, each leader sees the other's warband on the road and realizes that they aren't alone in seeking to plunder the wealth of the ancient gods, ConocoPhillips and Chevron. Of course, there's no sharing in dystopian Australia, and so they must fight for sole rights to the stockpile. Weapons are loaded, wheels are torqued, clutches are clutched, levers are leved, as each side makes ready for combat. Immortan Joe narrows his eyes. Lord Humungus flexes a single peck in warning. The fight is on. Which leader can outdrive and outfight the other? Which sweaty bastard can command the loyalty of his followers and lead them to victory? I have no idea, which is why I, Megan Bob, will be judging this week's match. Advocating for Lord Humungus are Miles Schneiderman.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, bullshit times here.
Wow, I have so many feelings. And esteemed guest, Diamond J.
We don't have to do this. Just walk away.
Very good.
Advocating for Immortan Joe are Dan Mulcairn.
Mediocre!
Oh, it's very good. And Liz Logan.
I am Immortan Joe. Well, sorry guys, wrong evil character with a breathing problem, my bad.
In a movie starring Tom Hardy.
In order to determine which team went first this week, I asked each team to gather as many deadly Australian creatures as possible. Liz and Dan brought me a fistful of spiders and a few snakes, which were much appreciated. Miles and Diamond J somehow brought me a full-grown great white shark, and I instantly fell in love. Her name is Henrietta, and we're going seal hunting together as soon as this match is over. I love you, Henny.
Shark!
Diamond J and Miles.
Doom!
Get all the dooms out now, motherfuckers. All right, I hope you've all blown your doom wads. Okay.
Always.
Diamond J and Miles, you'll be going first. Unleash your dogs of war.
When it comes to combat, toughness, and vehicular aptitude, Immortan Joe can't touch the Humungus. Over the entire runtime of Fury Road, do you know how many people Joe kills? None. He kills 0 people. He leaves everything to his minions, who invariably fuck it up, and being a man with a golden gun doesn't mean much when you don't even have the chance to fire it. The feral kid with the boomerang in Road Warrior has a higher kill count than Joe does, and probably a better sense of self-preservation, because Joe goes out like a punk at the end of the movie. Furiosa manages to sneak up on him despite being horribly injured. His own hostage in the passenger seat next to him prevents him from finally using that shiny pistol of his, and then Furiosa kills him with the laws of physics. Not a great showing from the face that launched 1,000 vomit projectiles. To be fair though, Joe was in a disadvantageous position at the time of his death. He was behind the wheel of a car, and that's just not a place where he excels. There's a moment during that final battle scene where one of the Vuvolini is on foot with her back to Joe's vehicle. He narrows his eyes and accelerates, preparing to run her down. And he completely fails to do this as he passes right over her without causing any damage at all. That's Immortan Joe in a nutshell. The camera zooms in on his scary-ass face right before he does precisely nothing. Except, I guess, drive over boulders with his ridiculously oversized wheels. He can do that. Putting all his skill points into monster truck tires hasn't really done him much good, though. Of course, there's one other potential reason for Joe getting knocked off so easily. He's an old-as-shit cancer victim. I mean, I don't know he has cancer, but I do know that A, almost everyone in his fucked up little testosterone cult seems to have cancer. B, he breathes like a 3-pack-a-day smoker trying to gargle paper mache. And C, he's got so many sores and pus nodules on his torso that they're thinking about making common cause and taking over the rest of his body too. Just imagine squeaky little voices suddenly yelling about how they're Fukushima-crazy war tumors before suddenly spreading across his face and into his eyes. But I digress. Lord Humungus, on the other hand, is a physical specimen. My dude has earned that codpiece, y'all. Not only does he have muscles on his muscles that are having kinky sex with even more muscles, but he's a tough-as-nails survivor of much burniness. The Humungus gets Molotov cocktails dropped on him from a gyrocopter and is totally fine. And mind you, that's right after he killed the leader of the settlers he's attacking with a super wicked-looking 3-bladed spear knife thing. He has a pistol too, by the way, and he actually shoots at people with it. Accurately, I might add. Both those last two things are more than Joe could manage. The Humungus also has a better car, with nitrous by the way, and is significantly better at driving it. He outclasses the chief rapist of the Citadel in every conceivable way. But the thing that's really going to ensure a victory for the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla are the forces at his disposal. The setup here dictates that we have the same number of minions, if I'm not wrong, so Joe's most formidable advantage, sheer numbers, is out the window. And if you're looking for a relatively small band of ferocious fighters, you won't find any tougher or crazier than those who fight for Humungus. They actually have a technological advantage over the warboys in the area of long-range weaponry. Aside from the harpoons that are exclusively used to attack vehicles, the longest range anything that Joe's forces employ are thrown fire spears. At least Humungus's boys have fucking crossbows, which should come in handy against anyone swinging around on a pole like an idiot. We have a group of hardened warriors who can dish out even more than the absurd amount they can take against a horde of kamikaze cannon fodder.
Lord Humungus doesn't rule a half-crazed mob of brainwashed fodder. Lord Humungus rules an organized mob of self-actualized citizens acting in their own self-interest. Not a single one of the Ayatollah of Rock's troops throw their lives away needlessly. Each and every one of them does so in the direct furtherance of their own goals. This makes the Humungus' troops more reliable, more inventive, and in general, a higher class of soldier than mindless drones willing to commit suicide, wasting not only the resources of their lives and training, but also the vehicles that they pilot simultaneously. The Humungus' warband actually represents a continuance of progressive values. The Humungus runs a democracy complete with freedom of speech. Wes openly disagrees with them. No, we go in, we kill. Does this result in summary execution that Immortan Joe would have handed out? No, not in the slightest. He's relaxed and restrained by his benevolent dictator, the Humungus. Additionally, his followers are free to pursue their own destinies of whoever they are, as Lord Humungus is running the only LGBT-friendly raiding cult in the wasteland. Immortan Joe's organization is honestly based in outmoded patriarchal models of ownership and forced breeding on the women in his tribe, leading to dissension and rebellion, which is endemic to Immortan Joe's organization. You have any number of traitors represented in this single movie, going all the way up to his most trusted, Imperator Furiosa. The Humungus has no such problem. The best he has, as far as an issue with discipline, is Wes, a puppy, who briefly breaks rank to, again, pursue his own agenda, which appears to be the general lot of the Humungus's troops. Additionally, we have to keep in mind, now this might not officially be a part of the competition, but I would like to point out that the Humungus had attained his station at a much earlier state post-apocalypse than Joe had. If we look at the background of the comics, Immortan Joe found the Citadel in existence after years and years of raiding leading a nomadic warband. However, we can't assume that the Humungus is in such a state. When they're buzzing around that refinery, they're driving a lot. And at the end of every day, they go somewhere. We see a couple tents, but that's a camp. You can't drive that much without a steady source of gasoline in existence already. Additionally, the bodywork on those cars is superb. They are in pristine condition for driving around the wasteland. They've got to have some sort of a garage somewhere where they are repairing and refurbishing their vehicles while they continue fucking motherfuckers up and taking their shit. Because that's what the Humungus does. Joe, on the other hand, found the Citadel pretty much in existence and snuck in. He wastes a bunch of his own dudes, as is Joe's tendency, trying to get in, and then he makes it in nearly alone and then comes out alive. The problem is that he comes out with Major Kalashnikov, aka the Bullet Farmer, who, we don't see what happened in there. Maybe the Bullet Farmer did all the work. He seems to be more effective than Joe is throughout the course of the movie. Either way, the Humungus has such a base already. We don't see anything about it. We don't hear anything of it, but he doesn't need to get lucky by getting told about a water-bearing citadel and then happening to find a lead mine nearby that also happens to have a refinery. The Humungus would appear to be the better strategian. Is that the word? Strategist. Tactician.
Sure. I like that you invented your own word.
Well,
thank you, Diamond J.
It's very Mad Max of you.
Language words are hard, although that does touch on another subject. Lord Humungus's people haven't degenerated to barbarism nearly as badly as Immortan Joe's followers. What is all this of McFeasting and the invented language that Joe's people babble semi-coherently? Humungus and his crew don't speak incorrectly, and actually, Lord Humungus is the most erudite, I would argue, post-apocalyptic villain in experience, considering the fact that during the nighttime torture scene, he's reciting Der Erlkönig. Butchering the German there, I'm sure, but it's by Johann Goethe, the guy who wrote Faust. The good version of the story of Dr. Faust.
Mm-hmm.
It's this
sick burns from the past!
Creepy-ass German poem about a delirious child believing he's being attacked by an elf king while his dad tries to get him to a doctor before he dies. And it's a German poem, so guess how that ends. The Humungus knows and remembers the history of the world that passed before. It's one of the reasons why he leads such a progressive regime. Whereas Immortan Joe is a mindless warmonger interested in little more than getting his dick wet. Finally, we also have to look at the success rate of the followers themselves. Immortan Joe's people die to secondary and tertiary characters left and right. Even if it's not at their own hands, they're taken out by second and third class good guys more often than we can count. Meanwhile, the crew of the Lord Humungus prove themselves to be more than apt of handling any supporting character in the cast, and really die only at the hands of Max. When all is said and done and our respective leaders are dead, Joe's followers see that Joe is dead and proceed to give up. They give up the Citadel, their impregnable fortress, without a second thought. Never mind the fact that there are several hundred war boys coming in pursuit who will be there shortly, as soon as they can get past a canyon. But they don't, because deep down, all of them, from Joe's last remaining son to the dude in the executioner's hood who's working the crank, know that their shit is done. The Humungus's followers also turn and leave, but only after seeing that the tanker they've been chasing has been full of sand the entire time. A ruse which Max himself wasn't even privy to. At which point, realizing that the goal they'd been pursuing is lost, turn to leave, not because they've been freed of a cruel tyrant, but because it's time for the society they've built to move on past the vision of their founder to greater and weirder S&M post-apocalyptic wasteland weirdness.
Yeah. That was really beautiful, guys. Very moving. Liz and Dan, tell me why you're so very shiny and chrome.
Just want to say that I searched for sexy Lord Humungus pictures and only normal pictures of Lord Humungus showed up.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
We're sexy.
I mean,
Like, what do you mean?
where do you
Implied.
go? Where do you go from his resting state? I just don't know.
That might be the first time that's ever happened.
Was this an argument of sexy? Because I didn't think there
Oh,
was a
you guys
contest.
win, hands down. Immortan Joe, formerly known as Colonel Joe Moore, is a high-ranking military officer that survived the oil wars and the water wars, created an awesome biker gang in order to survive, and then was smart enough to claim the Citadel as home due to its supply of fresh water. Using military and surprise tactics, Joe executed and survived an impossible infiltration of the Citadel, earning his nickname, Immortan Joe.
Let's linger on that point a second. Both of these characters at some point have to assault a well-guarded stronghold. In the case of Humungus, we see him and his boys go after a very small oil refinery, mainly guarded by some corrugated metal sheets, a very modest-sized ditch, and a group of largely untrained and poorly armed dirt farmers whose most fearsome member is a tiny boy with a boomerang and a mullet. Against this level of defense, which might amount to a suitable challenge for a video game tutorial, Humungus and his men are utterly humiliated, fleeing after just a couple of minutes of battle. Let's compare that to Joe. You know that giant rocky citadel on top of the aquifer that Joe's followers inhabit during Fury Road? Joe freaking conquered that place from the people who had originally settled it. Raiders who had set up sniper posts all around the perimeter and provided no way of ascending up the rock to the towers where they dwelled at the top. Joe staged a ground assault to draw the defenders' attention and then snuck his main attack force directly up to the top of the citadel by tying a rope around a lizard and sending it up the mountain. In the ensuing battle, Joe's forces took some losses, but in the end, it was Joe himself who emerged from the burning tower of his enemies and obtained his title of immortal. Understandably, that moment made him into something more than a general, and his men more than his soldiers.
Joe's followers and war boys think of him as the G word, a god. A god who has made sure...
Sorry, Colin.
Sorry.
A god who has made sure that all his war boys' needs are taken care of, whether that's acquiring gasoline, doling out fresh water appropriately, allowing them to take care of the sacred V8, and the fascist speeches to his followers, certainly help too. Joe's crafted a society that is incapable of turning against him, unless it was to happen from the inside out, as it did in Fury Road with Furiosa. Humungus's ramshackle gang of followers have no such organization, and no hope of reaching Valhalla by going above and beyond whatever their leader calls them to do. Honestly, the only time any of his followers are convinced of Joe's mortality is when his own dead body is a hood ornament on top of his own car. Joe, being a former military officer, has extensive weaponry, leadership, and vehicle training. This is shown in Mad Max Fury Road when driving his various vehicles like the Gigahorse and the Bigfoot, and when he is able to maneuver past obstacles and get right up next to Furiosa for a clear shot. He is able to utilize unique tactics and mix them up to keep his enemies on their toes. Sometimes he'll use lots of guns. Sometimes he'll use his war boys hanging off poles to attack from above. Sometimes he'll have his followers drive up alongside enemies and pump them full of lead. His tactics are constantly changing. He's able to manage resources at the Citadel, Gastown, and the Bullet Farm simultaneously. Meanwhile, Humungus has barely enough ammo for his gun that he legit has to make the mistake of bringing spears to the inevitable gunfight that will result with Immortan Joe. Let us not forget that one of Joe's followers, the Bullet Farmer, lets loose during Fury Road with hundreds of powerful rounds downrange at Max and Furiosa. I think Joe has been smart enough to stockpile enough ammo. The man rules with a plexiglass fist, a lesson Humungus probably wishes he would have learned.
The difference in resources between these two sides is going to be painfully obvious once things get started. Lord Humungus managed to establish a piddly desert camp for him and his followers, which consist of maybe a couple of dozen raiders. Their main focus is on acquiring gasoline because they have so little of it, and they need it so badly. Immortan Joe, however, runs 3 different cities in the middle of the desert, commanding 3 different divisions of hundreds of raiders. Dude has so many vehicles, he's tricked some of them out solely for the purpose of being a totally badass mobile stage for a few drummers and a guitar/flamethrower player. Despite having multiple fleets of gas-guzzling, battle-ready vehicles, we never see Joe and his followers even remotely desperate for fuel. The one resource that even looks valuable to them is water, but it's clear that it's not scarce. Joe is choosing to restrict access to it in order to keep his subjects, well, subjected. Joe's fleet includes vehicles with huge monster truck tires, meaning they can traverse difficult terrain with ease. That same vehicle is equipped with both a harpoon gun and a flamethrower, as well as multiple spots for war boys to stand. His forces from the Bullet Farm have freaking rocket launchers on the sides of their vehicles. At one point during their pursuit of Furiosa, we learn that Joe's forces have lost 12 assault bikes and 7 pursuit vehicles. And even with these losses, his forces are still several times larger than Humungus's ever are in Road Warrior and have much more impressive armaments on top of that. Most of Humungus's men don't even have guns, just crossbows. Now, I realize that strictly speaking, our numbers are considered to be equal given the bounds of this match, but this just illustrates how much more of an effective war leader Joe is, able to create, manage, and lead an armored force many times more powerful than Humungus manages to cobble together.
And unfortunately for Humungus, his showing of a reasonable side will be his downfall when going against the indoctrinated followers of Immortan Joe. Humungus will probably have to spend more time wrangling his followers into following his own orders like Wes than figuring out how to actually defeat Immortan Joe's warboys. Joe's had to make a lot of smart decisions to get to the point where he is now. His warboys follow his orders to a T, and Joe isn't afraid to get his own hands dirty once in a while too.
Now you might think that if this ever comes down to a straight fight between Joe and Humungus, that's where Humungus would have the advantage. You're dead wrong. First of all, that vest that Joe wears is totally bulletproof, and his metal respirator mask offers quite a bit of protection to his face. Meanwhile, everywhere on Humungus is a potential target, because it turns out that a Judas Priest harness and leather hot pants don't exactly give a significant armor class bonus. So, if they end up fighting each other, Joe's just gonna need a couple of good shots and Humungus is taken out faster than he was at the end of Road Warrior, when, lest we forget, he decided to drive his shitty dune buggy directly into an oncoming big rig because strategy?
I mean, what does Humungus have that is better than anything Joe has? Impractical BDSM get-ups, a discount Jason mask, and a car that looks like a go-kart next to Immortan Joe's? I mean, with how tight that little leather loincloth is, it's fairly obvious he's not even Humungus down there. I mean, Joe has some sweet bulletproof armor, sensible sun protection, the hottest chick in the wasteland working for him, most of the time. He turned a breathing problem into a fashion statement, and has the freshest of breast milk. He's just winning so much.
I live, I die, I live again. Except in this case, I just live, because there's no way that Humungus is coming even remotely close to a victory in this death race.
Guys, we're really creating art here.
We did it, you guys. We did
Breast milk.
I feel such a sense of satisfaction. Oh wait, no, that's after I crush you.
And with that, the ass comes off our collective chaps as we enter rebuttals. Do you guys see what I did there? Do you see? Do you see
I gotcha.
that? Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so glad you get it.
Butts.
I think you guys fundamentally misunderstand the relationship between Joe and the Bullet Farmer and the People Eater and that whole thing, because the way it seems to me in the movie is that they are trading with each other, they're allies, the Bullet Farmer directly disobeys Joe, the People Eater clearly has contempt for him, and you probably don't get them in this match because you really gotta pare down your shit, and I'm pretty sure this is just the war boys here.
So
They still follow his orders.
Yeah, like, Joe's still in charge. The Bullet Farmer and the People Eater don't believe in Joe's divinity the way that literally everyone else in his camp does. But he's still the guy in charge. If we have to pare down our army to match the piddliness of yours, then we at least get to pick who's there.
Yeah,
so,
except for the fact that you have to remember that Joe doesn't just demand them and they show. He has to call for reinforcements, which brings us into
which is him demanding
future,
and they show.
Which
so,
is which brings us into some straight up Game of Thrones bullshit. Okay, Walder Frey don't want to play ball, and all of a sudden you don't have your fucking Bullet Farmer. It's a matter of Joe doesn't completely control them. He has to ask them for their assistance.
He barters with them.
He barters with them. He trades with them. But even then, you know what? Go ahead, have your Bullet Farmer. As I recall, he kills fuck all.
Yeah, also
he
kills
dumps,
nobody.
He dumps a lot of bullets and does nothing. And additionally, you wanted to talk about how Joe's forces had guns. There were guns on the war rig. The Bullet Farmer has guns. they gave a gun to that dipshit with the breathing apparatus on his back that isn't Joe, his kid, and he fires it impotently into the air in a nice little metaphor for everything Joe does.
Yeah, so please tell us how this is going to be a gunfight.
Other than that, none of the war boys is seen with a firearm.
I want to address what you said about the bullet farmer missing with all the shots he took. That was because Furiosa sniped him through the spotlight that he was using. Like, you guys have no one in your group who is near the level of sniper that Furiosa is. Like, he was shooting those bullets totally blind, and he still almost hit those people. In fact, he would have hit Furiosa if she hadn't taken cover behind that discarded car door or whatever it was.
And remember, that's a solitary target. With this battle, it's going to be a target-rich environment. He's bound to hit something.
Yeah, you guys have no automatic weapons to speak of, and yet we see Immortan Joe's son wielding that minigun. He's going to be cutting down all of
nothing.
Nobody. He never shoots anybody with it.
He doesn't even try to.
You guys are comparing apples to oranges. Okay, so in Fury Road, what we have is this huge army going for a single target, right? That happens to have all of the most important people in Joe's life. When you're saying, oh, they don't hit anything, or, oh, they're not shooting guns, they don't want to shoot guns at these people, but they have that capability, as evidenced by all the raiding parties they've had before, as evidenced by Joe's past taking care of people. So that's not really any support for your argument.
I think we were talking about the last battle where they're all fighting each other with the intent to, pretty clearly, the intent to kill Furiosa and Max at the very least, not to mention the many mothers, the Vuvolini. And when we see Rictus Erectus in combat during that battle, he is not wielding a firearm. He is jumping down like on vehicles and trying to wrestle people because he's played by former professional wrestler Nathan Jones.
Additionally, if we're going to talk body count in movie, the war boys managed to kill fuck all. Humungus's people kill many of their opponents. In fact, just about everyone we see. They don't fail. Nobody escapes. Even Max is beaten by the Humungus's forces, whereas Joe is beaten by Max's friends.
It's important to recognize that the Humungus and his crew didn't get what they were after in terms of the tanker of guzzoline, but they did conquer the place. They did get in there and kill everybody except for Max and the feral kid.
And they took out his tanker.
Yeah. And Joe, I mean, okay, you say he conquered the Citadel. We say he found the Citadel and happened to go in there and be there. Like Jay said, we don't know anything about what happened inside. There's no concrete evidence to indicate that he has any experience taking any kind of fortress.
Other than the fact that with the lizard there, that wasn't actually Joe. That was an inspirational story he was recalling to everybody else. He was inspired by the story of somebody who cut off his own fucking finger to get a lizard up there when you've got all these followers with many tasty fingers laying around on them.
You guys are so funny with saying how, oh, Joe just showed up and now he owns the place, but it doesn't mean he conquered it. What? No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, did you guys even read that?
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I read the comic. I read the bit where the lizard is not Joe. The lizard was Joe's, inspirational story.
Oh, hail the mighty lizard!
Well, okay, I'm just saying. I mean, Joe, right. You want to say who read the comic, Joe didn't tie a rope to nothing. And it was his hero.
No, that is factually incorrect. What happened in that comic was Joe recalled a story that he had heard about an actual general who had done a similar thing by tying a rope onto a lizard. The sequence that we see in the comic is Joe and his men. One of Joe's men cuts off his own finger and ties it to a lizard to give the lizard enough motivation to climb up the cliff. That's something that he and his men are doing. That's not a flashback to some warlord from the past that he's recalling. That's what he and his men did, and they went in and killed all of those people in the Citadel after thinking their way past it.
Joe's not in that panel. All you've got is flashback text where he's still telling the story. Presumably, the individual who is shown clutching his hand and screaming about that is the general who is also mentioned in the same panel's text box as being the guy who cut off his own finger. Without Joe in the panel, or Kalashnikov, or any of the other named characters in the panel, one must assume that the text box is referencing the individual in the image who is the individual being told about in the story.
I am going to cut off this exploration into reading comics.
Okay.
And move it over.
Go read
as thrilling
books,
as
kids.
it was to revisit my undergraduate years, Dan and Liz, Show your teeth.
Joe is a demon behind the wheel of a vehicle. Like, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that he's at least on a similar level to Max and Furiosa in terms of his driving skills, given the insane shit that he manages to pull off in his, like, crazy double armored muscle car. Meanwhile, during his one time behind the wheel when he's in Road Warrior, Humungus, as we mentioned, drives directly into Max's much larger incoming big rig, despite having plenty of time and plenty of space to get out of the way. Like, and this ends about as well for Humungus and his shitty dune buggy as you might think it would.
Well,
Hey, maybe if he had big-ass monster truck tires, he would have avoided that, so, you know.
that's doubtful.
Over a hill with no visibility?
Yeah, the reason that he did that was because he didn't know that Max had turned around. That was a strategic move of brilliance by Max Rockatansky, not necessarily a mistake by Humungus. Humungus had been slowed by the Molotovs and was trying to catch up. He probably didn't have time to get out of the way of the big rig because, as previously mentioned, nitrous, he was going so fucking fast that he would, outrace anything Joe has regardless.
Also, turning around is how Max beat Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Mad Max's thing, man.
I turn around, and then everyone ditches me.
You guys talk about how, when Joe dies, like everything's horrible, and how when Humungus dies, his followers are still united and stuff. That's a bunch of crap, okay? Joe's society, when he dies, they certainly don't disband, and a couple other sources go into detail on how Scrotum McScroty Face, whatever the fuck his name is, has something to do with the scrotum. He is the one, Scrotus, along with Furiosa, are the ones who take the reins of that society. And they're so strong that there is no crazy disorder or whatever. They're still together. And you know who fostered all that? Fucking Joe.
Well, that's not the point. The point is that Joe's whole leadership structure, all these things that you guys have been leaning on with, the cult and people calling him godlike, it all crumbles in a second.
As soon as Joe
it doesn't.
dies, he's
the
not
society
a god.
does not crumble.
But
When does the society crumble?
Hang on. What you guys are missing is the fact that the people who rebel against Joe at the end of the movie are the wretched, the people who were like down in the pits waiting for him to give them water, and they are overjoyed to see that he's dead because they know that it means they're going to get water. All of the people who follow him into battle, the war boys, they're all dead by this point. They wouldn't turn on him so quickly.
Furiosa turns on him, Nux turns on him. It really seems like anyone given half the chance would.
Additionally, the second he's shown to be dead, I'm sorry, the wretched down there at the bottom, they're the ones who control the cranks to the chains leading up into the Citadel? Oh wait, no, sorry, some asshole who follows Joe way up there decides to let Furiosa end them up. It's not the wretched who are in control of that. It's Joe's own structure that decides to give it up the second they see a body.
He's not taking crank operators into battle with him. That's why they're back operating the cranks. And you think that a lack of descent into barbarism is going to be an advantage here? We haven't heard the lightning round yet, but I'm guessing it's not going to be a tea party, so
no.
I think your table manners aren't going to carry you far in this, where knowledge of the past counts is in war strategy, which we see Joe draw upon again in that Vertigo comic when he successfully infiltrates the Citadel.
The point about the society totally turning on Joe is not a point about table manners, Dan. It's a point about the fact that this is a contest in part of leadership and inspiring your troops. And Joe's leadership and Joe's inspiration is skin deep. It does not go down any lower than that. We see that because it is almost instantly dissolved as soon as he's gone.
It is a cult of personality.
But by none of the war boys.
That doesn't make any sense.
It is a cult of personality based entirely about the worship and veneration of Joe as a leader.
So what you guys are saying is you have to kill Joe first before his followers will run away. So that provides you with an awfully high bar to clear before you can even get to that point.
No, what we're saying is that Humungus is a better leader and the loyalty of his troops goes down deeper, and that is going to help us out because Joe doesn't have his primary advantage, which is numbers in this match. The connection between Humungus and his troops are stronger and will pull out the victory for the Humungus.
Additionally, Lord Humungus draws from a broader spectrum of the available resource pool when it comes to his followers. He has a more inclusive warband.
I mean, Joe's got 3 different towns that are coming to fight for him that still respond to his orders. Yes,
Sausage
leaders
party.
have to ask sometimes, and they still come.
Yeah, and you mentioned that a lot of Humungus's men only die to Max, but I don't know, man. Like, a lot of them die when someone drops a snake on them, and then, like, one of them willingly reaches out to an incoming bladed boomerang, like a kid reaching out for a shiny. Like, these guys are not your A-grade mooks here.
Okay, that guy is like the herald, like the crier. He's an idiot, and also he doesn't die. There's like one guy who dies because of the snake, and I'm sorry, it's a fucking snake.
Yeah, no
I'd be scared too.
So war boy gets
what-
a snake dropped on him, then that's not shit they have to go up against. They
don't need to die to be proved ineffective. Joe has all his blood bags that he captures and uses for their fucking blood.
Okay, how many people are you bringing into this match? Because you have a very set amount. You don't get the whole thing.
That's a good point. It seems to me like Immortan Joe's crew is altogether pretty sickly. They need to capture people for their blood. We don't see anything like that among the hale and hearty troops of Lord Humungus.
They're all cancer patients.
Yeah, not a one of Lord Humungus's men needs this extensive medical care.
Oh my god, then I guess the whole human race is sick too. Jesus Christ, these arguments.
It gets more and more progressive. They got universal health care over there.
These fucking arguments.
Okay, well, we all need aloe vera after all of the burns we've received here today. Oh, wait, what's this? There are only 2 figures left in the midst of the battle. The rest of the soldiers are wrestling on the ground or napping in a tuckered out puppy pile. There are a few pockets of making out. Or in the case of the doof warrior, just restringing his fire guitar. From off to the side, the hooded figure appears on a small hill flanked by koalas in leather jackets. Throws off his hood, and with a flash of light, bringing us to the lightning round.
Oh no.
Sorry to be so dramatic. No, actually, I'm not. I love an entrance. My name is Mr. No, you know what? Just call me Mixie, thank you. I was having a lovely time watching you. Both so creative. You're exactly what I need. No, don't look at me like that. It's perfectly simple. One of you will instruct me in driving. Obviously, I can't have 2 instructors. That would be insane. You know what would be perfectly reasonable, though? If you competed for the honor of tutoring me. Suddenly, Mixie is in a full Renaissance gown. The empty Outback has transformed into a bustling Renaissance fair, and in a field are some decked-out horses, an array of ye olde weapons, and the promise of glory. Oh, God. The war bands of both leaders are gathered round the field, turkey legs in hand. Tell me your horse's name, about her or his killer instinct. What color or symbols will be on your shield? Describe to me how you'll use your superior driving and weapon skills to kick ass. And most importantly, tell me what token of your affection you'll give to the fair Mixie before the match.
Wait, so is this a joust?
I mean, it can be. There's ye olde weapons. You can joust if you want to joust, or you can have a morning star. Whatever you think you can reasonably handle on horseback.
How about a big-ass 3-bladed spear?
You can. I have nothing against a man with a trident. Since Team Humungus went first in the main round, Team Immortan Joe goes first in the lightning round. Take it away.
Someone mentioned this earlier in the actual main round, but Immortan Joe's vehicle throughout Fury Road is called the Giga Horse. So obviously this is going to be Giga Horse 2. 2 Giga 2 Horse, maybe?
Even giggier?
I like Giga Horse 2 Electric Boogaloo. I think that's going to be the name of his horse. And this particular horse has giant monster truck tire-sized hooves, is how this particular horse rolls.
What the fuck? This is more improbable than mine fucking thing.
Joe's heraldry, as you may have noticed, on the front of his respirator is like the upper and lower jaw of a horse skull. So his whole heraldry is going to be a black background with a white horse skull on it. His whole strategy is to basically start up a new religion. He already knows about, the symbolism around Valhalla and what that religion demands. So it's going to be pretty easy to, subjugate some nearby peasants into serving him, into being his new war boys. And so while they distract Humungus, Joe's just going to pick up a crossbow and shoot him really anywhere, the neck, the chest. It's going to be over real quick. And as a token, he has taken a couple of the milk bottles that we see him dispersing around the Citadel. He's taken the nipples off of the top of them and has affixed them to his breastplate. And so once he wins against Lord Humungus, he rides over to Mixie, detaches the rubber nipples from his breastplate, and hands them as a token of his affection.
Okay,
Oh my god, so romantic!
Well, anyways, once that fucking horse dies from his massive hooves, Joe needs Giga Horse 3 Giga 3 horse. I don't fucking know.
Giga Horse 3 Tokyo Drift.
Yes.
There you go.
And considering that, Joe's mostly driven a car for his rest of his life, he's gonna go back to something else. He's gonna have a fucking chariot, okay? It's, I don't know, chariot Giga 3, whatever. Fuck. And the 2 horses' names are gonna be Testis and Coctus.
Oh.
Because Mad Max. And some extra tokens of affection, since he thinks very highly of himself. He's gonna be giving away his own pus and some of his peeling skin.
Jesus Christ.
Wow, what
My
a lucky
spleen
lady.
hurts. Mixie understands what it means.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. What did I do? Mixie, why did you make me do this? Okay. Well, that was things I never dreamed would come into reality have now landed in my face, and I don't know what to do. Diamond J and Miles, your turn.
You think that was unsettling? We got Lord Humungus.
Okay. So the first thing that we're gonna do is ride into this contest with our faithful steed Cockmongler.
Giant black stallion.
Yeah,
Huge.
just the biggest Cockmongler you've ever seen.
With nitrous.
With nitrous, I might add, so he can literally run circles around you because your horse has monster truck hooves, but ours has nitrous.
That
gear.
one died! Shut the fuck up.
Okay, well, we actually also have a backup mount in case ours goes down from, gravity.
When Cockmongler goes down, he's merely replaced with Wes, who, from what we've seen, is more than capable at anything you put him towards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actual physical Wes, not a horse named Wes, but
No,
Wes. We go, we ride.
While you're over there, try to inspire people to a new religion, I think we're just gonna be beating the shit out of you and bashing your brains in because our character is physically huge and imposing, and your dude is an old-ass cancer victim.
The shield he doesn't really use is merely a black leather field with the occasional pyramid spike. What matters more is the huge-ass triple-bladed spear he uses. You know, like the one we saw him throw at a moving target while hurtling across the face of the earth at 80 miles an hour.
That's right.
Yeah, that one. He hit a guy in a car with it. He should be able to hit your dude in a horse. And all of this is to bestow the fair Mixie Zittlepick with his favor, a studded leather black cock ring.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And then, riding off into the sunset, victorious, on Wex's back, after we also affix him with nitrous.
I don't think you guys know what nitrous is. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here.
Horse nitrous.
Yeah, horse nitrous.
Okay.
Don't tell me you haven't heard of horse nitrous, Dan.
They fart really crazy.
Wait, is this the end of it? Have we reached the end of the lightning round? And the end of the show forever?
I was gonna,
please, God!
I was gonna talk about everything we fed the horse to make the nitrous, but you don't want to hear about that.
Okay, well, goodbye.
Oh, man.
I have no regrets. I would do that again.
Well, I have to say, in terms of spurious arguments, claiming that we can't possibly know who was waiting on the inside of the Citadel is one thing. And then, but then to turn around and claim that, obviously, Lord Humungus has some invisible garage hidden just beyond the next dune.
They waste a lot of gas for cruising around there. But is this any more spurious than claiming what's obviously clear plastic is magically bulletproof?
It's called plexiglass, man. It is bulletproof.
Plexiglass is...
They have that.
There's a reason he wears that.
You will notice that when they shoot at Immortan Joe through his windshield, or when they try to in Fury Road, it doesn't get through because his windshield is made of the same material that his breastplate is.
We can't assume that a windshield and a breastplate are made of the same shit.
Okay.
No. If you read the designer's notes on Fury Road,
Dan,
yeah, it's bulletproof.
Dan, ease up, Wes. Dan Wes. That was intense, guys.
That was very intense.
Yeah.
Much like the movies on which we based this match. That was
Much
Oh,
fury,
man.
much road.
that was a white-knuckled experience, to be sure.
So
An action-packed thrill ride?
yeah.
Miles, what do you think the over-under is on us getting Tina Turner to sing our theme song this week?
Oh, no, please, no. No. We don't talk about Mad Max 3.
Auntie coming in here completely changes the landscape of this combat.
Liz, we'll fight about Thunderdome, so I don't want to go there.
Iron Bar is a poor man's Wes.
Well, Miles, I did see your Doof cosplay for that one Comic-Con you went
Yeah.
to, and that was
Wait, what?
very impressive.
Have you not seen that, Liz?
Where can I find this?
On Facebook. If you look at my pictures, you'll see pictures of me in a Doof Warrior cosplay.
Son of a...
We may have to throw that up on the Twitter this week, Miles.
Dude, by all means. It was like kind of a thrown together costume, and Sharon helped make it really awesome, and there was only one other guy who had done it, and he'd done a way better job, but like, we took a picture together and it was awesome. And also, I'm pretty sure he like handcrafted a fake guitar, whereas I was using my actual guitar.
Yeah, I was
Because-
gonna say, probably didn't even bother to buy a flamethrower for it.
It looks the part, my guitar. So no, seriously, favorite Mad Max movie? Is it Fury Road? Is that question ended forever?
Yeah,
Fury Road.
I feel like Road Warrior kind of like nailed and perfected the Mad Max formula, and then like Fury Road comes along and just like elevates it to Valhalla, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fury Road is fantastic, although I prefer my Max mad because he don't give a fuck, as opposed to mad because he's got some sort of hackneyed, half-assed, honestly insulting portrayal of mental illness going on. Oh, look, he's crazy.
I mean, the only issue with that is that the alternative is Mel Gibson, who probably is actually
is
mentally
genuinely
ill.
mentally ill, right? We've got more authenticity with the old movie.
I guess that's true. There need to be more roles in Hollywood for the disabled, so, by all means, cast Mel Gibson.
You know, I feel like instead of Tom Hardy as the new Mad Max, like they could have kept a stronger through line and maybe gone with like Christian Bale, like someone else who's kind of a known firebrand and like flies off the handle real easily. Except Christian Bale isn't like as obviously outwardly like hateful as Mel Gibson
Or like
is.
Russell Crowe.
I was gonna say Joaquin Phoenix.
Yep.
Well,
Oh,
See? All good
jeez, that'd be
choices.
so weird.
I would have liked Carl Urban in the role.
That would have been good.
Just
Yeah, I
because
could have seen him.
his
So,
turn
yeah.
in Judge Dredd gave that, no, I don't give a fuck.
He certainly pulls off really good impressions of previous actors who have played the roles, like, what he did with Bones in the new Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
Well, good job. We've just shown up Hollywood with our casting abilities, everyone.
That's not a high bar to clear.
Why don't they give us jobs?
Oh, we don't know the right people.
And we keep insulting Christian Bale.
Yeah, that's a no-go,
You
man.
do?
Guys, we know never to do that.
Yeah.
He'll come after us. That's a problem.
I'm cool with
I'm
that.
okay with that.
I'd be down to lose
No,
a fist
I'm
fight
not.
to Batman.
Not at all. No. Scary man. Scary, punchy man. Not a fan.
Batman. I heard you said some mean things about me. Now I'm gonna punch you in the face.
No, exactly. He would do that. And then I'd have to go, no, stop it. I like my face
No.
punched.
It's like Batman as played by Jay and Silent Bob.
Okay. So I had a wild time. This whole ride has been nothing but madness from the get-go, as the name would imply, I suppose.
Yes.
So I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I really do think Lord Humungus has it. I know. I know you guys.
Yes!
I know you guys don't believe me, but we're talking about Lord Humungus at his peak, and we are talking about Immortan Joe at the very end of his sort of physical capabilities.
We know it's your kink. We know it's the muscles. We know.
I mean, I will say there was a lot of not even fan service, just me service in that movie. And I sort
like
of
burn
I
scars,
tried
huh?
not to watch it too closely because I didn't want to be too prejudiced, but I was also really deeply concerned by the fact that the War Boys are not the most. They're very dedicated. There is a limit to how effective that is. You don't have an unlimited supply of them. So that was another big issue. But I mean, guys, the arguments were really good. They were really great on both sides. Everything was amazing. The only thing that really matters, though, ultimately, the only thing I care about Is those fucking horses.
Well, Miles and Jay, excellent job managing to befuddle Meg and Bob into making another
Thank
wrong
you.
decision.
The wrong-
so,
Thank
well
you.
done.
Another
Well
wrong-
done.
Those
Wow.
arguments though. Whew.
Can't argue
Yeah.
with the sex.
That was-
Yeah, you guys
You
are
guys
on
You guys
fire.
definitely attached some nitrous to your arguments, that's for sure.
Well, you guys,
Some horse farts.
some Mad Max related pun about your arguments. They were great. They were really good. They were the Fury Road of arguments.
Very good.
They were.
Jay, thank you for coming on onto the show with us. And if I'm not mistaken, you also suggested this match to us.
Yes, I did. I argue with Miles not only about your podcast, but about the results of your podcast quite frequently. And
Now you had a
Is
hand in
Miles
it.
is Miles your favorite?
No.
he could not possibly be.
We've been friends too long.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I too hail the mighty lizard.
Yeah,
Shit,
lizard.
wait, that sounds sexual. Hold
Yep.
on a second.
How long do you
Oh,
spend
I'm-
planning these intros of yours, kids?
I just wait till I hear something that sounds like something I would say. Thank you to everyone who has been, helping us promote. I'm going to start with Twitter. Thank you to Addisonny Boy, Nathaniel Westover, Cosplay Fiend, Mike Booch, Florian, the Politipop podcast, which belongs to Mike Booch, and Samaconda for retweeting our episodes or just talking about our show. You guys say such touching things. Thank you to friend of the show, friend of a few of us, Evan Staves, for sharing our Hermione Granger versus Willow Rosenberg match. And he said very nice things. Thank you, Evan. And I saved these two next ones for when Liz was back on the show, because Liz needs to hear this.
Yeah, we've actually been sitting on these ones for a few weeks now, so our apologies to those of you who sent it in, but obviously we needed Liz around to read these out, so...
Oh, these are my boys! My boys!
Some new boys. You got some new boys, Liz. You're collecting all the boys. Okay, so David Waters drew a picture of Dante and Geralt doing that nasty fucking sword double penetration shit that you be doing
Oh,
to
yeah.
What?
Fuck yeah.
Now listen to
I will point
Extraordinary
out-
League.
I think he tried to post this on Facebook, but I think it got taken down, so he just sent it to us in a little private message thing. But it's real disturbing, but
Too
also
hot, too furious.
also exactly what Liz makes those characters
Yes.
do in
He,
League.
he
so.
said he said you were his dark muse.
Oh,
Also, we got an email that I've been holding on to. A new fan, Keelan Lowry, saying he found the show and decided to binge it in 2 months. God's
dang,
Whoa,
son.
dang.
Oh my gosh.
How are you
glad
alive?
like it. I know.
That's like more than one episode a day
Yeah.
for 2 months.
Do you need help? We can send help.
But we are also not
can't.
legally responsible for what you heard and experienced
Yeah,
and
no.
subsequently do.
He also got a few of his D&D buddies hooked on it, so thank you. Thank you for sharing the love.
He's a fan whisperer.
And lastly, he is from Oz, so another fan from Oz. And he requested, Liz, that in the best worst Aussie accent that you can muster, say, crikey, she's a bloody beauty.
Oh,
man.
Fuck.
Do you need to go off mic for a minute to prepare?
You need to take some Fosters first.
Crikey, she's a bloody beauty! That was like Scottish or something. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Crikey! She's a bloody beauty!
I feel like you shouldn't pronounce the T, like she's a beauty.
Beauty! Beauty! She's a bloody beauty!
Okay, Liz's face is melting.
Here we are crowding how to do a bad Australian accent.
This was, however, the most appropriate episode to do this in. So.
I didn't hear
God.
anything in there about make him sound drunk and belligerent.
I know, what is Liz saying about Australians?
Oh, man.
Right?
They like their Fosters, I guess.
Forced. So much space!
Okay, all right.
All right.
enough.
Somebody get Liz off the stage.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Smash Fiction. Come back next week for Superman versus Goku.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Holden, with logo design by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight. The Humungus also has a much better car, a Ford F-150 with nitrous. Say something.
Oh my god, Miles, you know nothing about cars.
I read it on the internet. Damn it!
Fucking hell!
I would just drop the Ford F-150 reference.
It's on the website. It's on the website.
Right, God damn it.
Uh-huh.
No, just don't mention that. Like, just be like, his car's got nitrous and it's badass and fast. Like,
Even Diamond J knows!
Well, yes, he knows more about cars than me because that's not hard.
Well, I own one. That's better than you. I'm not a car guy.
Hey,
but
I own
fuck,
one.
Man. Like,
I didn't expect the rebuttals to come so soon
derailed.
and from Team
Right.
Humungus.
This is breaking into civil war. In a battle of strength, or wits, or Australian post-apocalyptic transportation wars. The day is hot. We don't know what day it is.
And see who would win, Bob.
Oh,
This
fuck
week,
me.
Immortan Joe versus Lord
God
Humungus.
fucking ball sack. Ah, Jesus